Welcome into today's broadcast right here at Cog Hill Farm. Now, Peaches wouldn't let Nugget into the house for this episode, so here's Jason, Brooke, and our chicken master, MaryCarl.
What is up, guys? This is another episode of the Cogcast podcast. I think this is episode 9. And this is Jason, MaryCarl, and Brooke, the Cog Squad in full effect. And looks like we got us another little critter here.
I was going to say, I think you forgot somebody.
Yeah, it's Squeaks. That's his name, ain't it?
No, it's Francisco.
Francisco. This is one of the ducklings that's hatched here recently on the farm. If you don't know about that, check out our latest YouTube video that came out yesterday to get y'all caught up on the ducklings if you don't know. And I think, tell us a little bit about our ducklings and what we got going on.
So, probably about 2 weeks ago, we found a call duck that was sitting on eggs, and it was under one of the parts of the ultimate chicken coop, and we were actually going to put the coop together, and I don't know if y'all saw that video, but it was a call duck, and she was sitting on 13 eggs, and none of them were call ducks. But
They weren't her eggs. She was she may have just been contributing to that nest at the time.
Well, you're thinking Topaz is the mama.
Topaz are one of Topaz's babies that probably hatched sometime last year.
And Topaz is a mix.
Topaz is a mix of, I'm pretty sure, a Peking and a Indian runner. And if you've ever seen Topaz, she is kind of a tan. She has a few white spots on her. She's kind of a grayish tan. And she resembles an Indian runner more than domesticated other kind of duck.
She has a small little tuft that comes out of just kind of the back of her head.
But her husband is
a
call duck.
Her husband is a call duck.
That we got from Robert over at Dayberry.
Yes.
We did.
I think Robert's made every video here in like 4 in a row, ain't he?
That's something. Robert, you're quite the character here. But Robert gave us the call duck for a mate for our female call duck.
Which was early.
Yep.
Yeah, which was early, but the call duck didn't go too early. The call duck went to
Topaz. In which at the time before the call duck bonded with Topaz was with a mandarin duck we had.
Yes, that's right. I forgot about that.
I forgot about that
and
too.
Her mate or husband has always been a smaller duck.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
I forgot about that.
I forgot about the mandarin. We used to have 2 mandarins. We had a pair, and we had a pair of wood ducks.
Yeah.
But they escaped at some point. Throughout, I don't know, the wood duck kind of escaped one time.
Well, what happened was the female escaped first, and then the male, he just called for her all the time. It was pitiful.
He would go,
and we could see her come back, and she would be within visible distance to the pen that he was located in. So finally, we decided that it was best if he left and possibly went and found his mate because he was not happy.
But wood ducks are a native here.
Yep.
And it's their climate, and so
we are in Alabama.
Yeah.
And then the female mandarin, I guess, escaped at some point.
No, I think that's right. I think the female escaped.
And then the male just stuck around for the longest time.
And actually, we had the coop door open.
Yeah.
Oh, we would have the coop door open, and he just stuck around, kind of like our Mallards do. And then during that time, he bonded with Topaz, and we thought he would never leave. But we had to tear the coop down because we were having a tree cut down.
That's right.
And then when we took that fence down, it was like he realized that he could fly, and he could escape, and he could do what he wanted to. And we just left it and let him be. And for whatever reason, he decided to leave.
And around that time, there was a mandarin, like
in New York City.
Yes.
Oh, that's
like
right.
a week afterwards, and the duck that we had didn't have a band, and the duck that was there didn't have a band on its leg, and We don't know if that was the duck, our duck, but
MaryCarl was convinced it was. So
Convinced our Mandarin duck flew to New York
but
City.
it's kind of a coincidence that there was a Mandarin a week after ours had escaped.
I mean, it was. MaryCarl's just convinced. That's him. He flew to New York. He left Alabama and went to New York.
He was tired of this country life and wanted to go to the big city
That's
now.
right.
He went on to New York.
And we don't see the reason for that, but I mean, who would want to leave the country and go to the city? So anyway, this is one of the little ducks.
That's loud.
Isn't he precious?
He is precious.
And he has made his way into the house in our, of course, trough.
Yep.
Being babied and cared for constantly by MaryCarl. He has, I call it a he, enjoyed reading during her homeschool sessions with her. There have been numerous scrambled egg sessions from eggs that we noticed had a crack in it, or
That's
for whatever
right.
reason we couldn't save them and cook them or sell them to other people. We will scramble those eggs and give them to them. So he has quite the luxurious life.
He
right
does
now.
have quite the luxurious life.
He's peeping for a friend right
I
now.
know
but
it.
And we needed a few more ducks. I mean, my gracious.
Oh, yes, we did.
I guess that's the ongoing thing is I'm not a duck fan, and y'all love ducks, especially MaryCarl. I mean, you would between a chicken and a duck, would you pick a duck over a chicken?
I would definitely pick a duck, but that doesn't mean somebody else would, because ducks are extremely messy.
They're extremely messy. They're nasty. I will say this. I have gotten more lenient and more custom, or whatever word you want to say, about the ducks.
Well, that nest that we found once we picked that ultimate coop up, we didn't know if that duck had been sitting on the eggs.
Oh, yeah, we didn't know.
And she did not go back. We gave her the opportunity to go back to the nest.
Well, we actually picked her up and put her in the coop.
Oh, that's right. We gathered all the
Yeah.
eggs and put her in the coop and gave her the opportunity to get back on the eggs in a safe place.
And
because
she didn't.
She didn't. So MaryCarl said, "Can I put them in the incubator?" Well, what could we do at that point? That we knew there were live ducks inside the eggs. There was no doubt. And so it was 13 eggs, and Jason said, "Oh, geez."
Oh, gee.
He
And-
knew he couldn't say no.
Every one of them was fertile. It's so two didn't make it out of the shell.
Two didn't make it out of the shell, but they were fertile.
They were fertile.
One of them had pipped and just didn't make it, and the other one just didn't hatch at all. But there was a baby in it.
Wow, that is
And
crazy.
That was like a 95% hatch
Yeah,
rate,
it's up there.
but the fertility rate was 100%.
It was better than the East Indies ducks.
Oh,
that's
it
for
sure
sure.
was. It sure was, because we did end up, we could shine a light in there and saw that there was no babies. They were not fertile.
In the East Indies,
Right.
And that's the, we say that a lot. If you order eggs through the mail off eBay or wherever, you're taking a risk. You're rolling the dice, because there's so many variables that can happen.
Well, first
with
of all, nobody
those
can
eggs.
guarantee
No.
that something's fertile, and we realize that.
That's
I mean,
right.
There's no blame on anybody in that aspect, because you've got to realize that unless there's no way to guarantee fertility.
There's no way to guarantee
You
it.
can't guarantee it.
Plus,
No matter what you've seen happen, you still can't guarantee fertility.
it was wintertime.
They were in the mail for quite a few days. There's
Few
no
days.
telling how many days they had gathered them before they got enough to ship us.
Because a egg in general, like probably an emu egg will last a whole long time, but a duck egg is gonna have fertility for
Excuse me.
a duck egg is gonna have fertility for about 7 days, and that's the same with a chicken or a quail egg.
After that
Yeah.
day,
Yeah, after that.
it starts declining. Not
That's
to
right.
say that it would not hatch, but the chances get slimmer.
That's right. It does get slimmer, until you don't have any idea what
The variables are.
There's any idea what? Yeah, the male person, they don't care about your eggs, or for the most part.
We're sorry, male people,
Yeah.
but it's the truth. I mean,
Yeah, well-
you're out there to do your job. You're not out there to make sure that eggs don't get
Well, you think
jostled around.
how many different hands those eggs touch before they get to you? How many, so
And that's
it's,
just part of it. There's no
Yeah.
blame on anybody. It's just something that happens.
and too, speaking of eggs, we're getting asked this a ton, and it's every day. It is every single day. We cannot sell eggs at the moment. We cannot legally ship eggs through the mail unless we are NPIP certified. Now, we've contacted the state. We're waiting on them to contact us back and set all that up. But eventually, we do plan to sell hatching eggs to some degree. But right now, we can't.
And another thing is when you become NPIP certified, they do have to come to your farm and they have to take blood draws from most of your animals. It's not everyone on your farm, but most of your animals have to have blood drawn to make sure that there are no diseases that like bird flu or something that they haven't seen in years, but it is present in certain areas, and that takes a lot of time. So I can understand the hold
Right.
up on getting in their schedule. And
I think that they test for avian influenza. I don't think it's been recorded since a long time ago.
I think it was like the 70s was
70s
the
or
last.
Yes.
60s? I want to say 63. I don't know why that number stuck in my head, but I may be wrong on that. But it's been a while.
And I mean, I have to say that I think it's a good thing that they check to
Yeah,
make
it
sure,
is.
to keep those diseases out of flocks, because not to say people don't go to auctions and chicken sales and buy chickens, which we don't advise, but
Right.
it happens and sicknesses do get spread that way.
That's right.
So in order to be NPIP certified, you're guaranteeing at that time that you're, disease resistant against what they're checking for.
And then plus, don't they do a random check every year too from that
I
point
think so.
forward?
I think so.
And they don't check everything on the random checks, I don't think.
I'm not sure. I wouldn't want to
I
say
can't
because
remember,
I
yeah.
don't know enough yet in order to discuss that. But I will soon.
Yeah, we will soon, hopefully. What is your favorite breed of duck?
My favorite breed of duck would have to be an Indian runner.
The Indian
That's
runners.
domesticated ducks. Wild ducks, I think I could look at a list and I wouldn't be able to find the one I like the most. But I love ducks in general.
What show was it? Well, that show we were watching the other night, and I said, "Oh my gracious! I didn't realize they were. What was it? A loon?
Yes.
I thought loons were like the size of a mallard." And MaryCarl thought that was the funniest thing, that I didn't know the size of a loon, because they're bigger than a domestic Peking and they're smaller than a goose. But she, of course, already knew that and got a little bit of humor out of the
And-
fact that her old mama didn't know how big a loon was.
Later on that show, there was an eider duck, and I thought that eiders were pretty small.
But it's big.
Yeah, it's about the size of a loon.
Oh, wow.
And then she started telling me about dabblers and divers and land, and I mean, all things that I had no idea about. So tell us a
There's-
little bit about ducks.
I'm pretty sure it's 4 classification of ducks. There's perching ducks, which are like Muscovies. They have sharp claws.
See if you can show them the little claw that's on the.
Little duck here.
Can you see
Put
his
it in
little
front of-
claws?
At this age, this duck already has the little claws.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a Muscovy.
Yes.
What else is a perching duck that you can think of?
I'm thinking that Muscovies might be the only perching duck. Wood ducks probably are. But there's dabblers, which are like mallards, and they'll stick their little bottom up. And if you've ever seen mallards in a pond, they'll stick their little bottom up and they'll
And their head goes down in the...
and they'll nibble at the grasses.
And that's called a
stuff that-
dabbler?
Yes,
Okay.
that grows on the bottom of the pond.
Mm-hmm.
But a diver is like an eider, for instance, and an eider will dive in the ocean and eat like clams.
Because they're coming from high distances and they will actually
that
dive
what they
down
do?
in the water,
They
right?
don't fly in it. They just sit on top of the water and they dive.
You see what I mean?
You're
I mean,
thinking of a seagull.
see what I mean?
Yeah.
She just she makes me feel like I'm not real smart when it comes to. She looks at me with this look like, "Mama, you need to hush. You don't know what you're talking about." But that's okay. Live and learn, right? What's the other one?
And domesticated duck.
Oh,
That's
domesticated.
just like your
Peking.
Peking, Indian runner.
Which can't fly, right?
Yes. Runners can get off the ground, but they can't like fly like a mallard.
And why are they called Indian runners?
Well, I'm not sure why Indian because they're from Scotland, but they are like running.
They look crazy.
They stand just like this.
I call it a bowling ball pin.
Bowling ball
Yeah.
pins. That's what they look like. They're shaped like a bowling ball pin, and they walk like they're straight up.
And they don't actually walk; they run.
Yeah.
And when the feed store gets babies in, and you've got 50 ducks in there, she will insist that one's straight up. That one's a runner.
That one's a
I'm
runner.
like sorting through
And
them.
so we bring home 10 that may or may not be
And
a
then,
runner,
like,
but it was
5 of
convincing
them
to Mama. And that time's about to get here when your feed stores and things like that are
That's
starting to
right.
get in ducks and chicks. And it's a good time for you to start making your list if you don't want to buy in volume. And if you buy from a hatchery, you have to buy in volume. And that's because they have to be shipped and
That's
they have
right.
to stay warm. So if you go to like your Tractor Supply or your local feed store or whatever, you can buy 2 or 3 at a time. And
Yep.
What I do is when they get ducks, we ask if we can go in the back, and we're just like their main baby buyer. And
they guarantee MaryCarl has a job as soon as she's old enough to work because nobody there knows anything about the critters. All they know is what it says on the box. And so customers will be like, "Wow, that little girl knows her stuff." And I'm like, yeah,
You don't have a clue.
Our mama knows nothing, but
But I like look in the tote, and I'm like, ooh, there's a little. I call crested ducks boofy ducks, but I'm like, ooh, there's a little boofy one. I won't eat it.
it might have one sprig coming out, and it's convincing enough to me to let her bring it home.
And any odd-looking creature, baby chick, duck, that's in the feed store, I have it.
She has to have it. If it's odd, it's hers. It belongs to her.
I'm trying to think. I think we've raised,
Every kind of duck.
almost every kind except the hookbill, which hopefully we'll have some of those hatching eggs coming soon in the springtime.
There's lots of those that are in that category of dabbling ducks that we haven't had.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wild ducks
Wild
we haven't
ducks.
had.
We don't have any wild
Well,
ducks.
the teal.
The
one time
merganser.
had,
We did have a teal, didn't we?
We did. We had a
can't
pair of
remember
them.
what it was. It was
We got them from Robert, didn't we?
We did.
was it a pintail? It wasn't a pintail. It was some sort of teal.
The green winged teal.
No, green wings don't look like that.
Robert, that was not a green winged teal that you gave us.
Even though
I just
you
want you to know that.
It was something gray. It's not very vivid in my mind, but I remember the little ducks, and they were very
real
tiny.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
really tiny.
And
They were tiny. I remember those. And usually the wild ducks are tiny for the most
Yeah,
part.
like-
At least ours are in this area.
we've had a mandarin, whatever kind of teal that was.
Uh-huh.
I think it was a blue wing teal.
Okay.
I think, I'm not sure.
That's going to drive you crazy till you figure it out.
I might have to find that picture we took of them. But we've had a wood duck,
Pair of mandarins,
a pair of mandarins,
Mhm.
a pair
Pair
of
of
wood ducks,
the
and
blue winged teals,
I'm not sure that's what they were, but a pair of teals. And
call ducks.
call ducks aren't necessarily wild, but Muscovies
Muscovies are
Muscovies
wild.
they are native to Mexico and South America, but I think they live in Florida.
Actually, I saw on a friend of mine's, this is kind of crazy, Facebook today. She was headed to the doctor up in North Alabama, and she obviously took a stop somewhere, and she took a picture of some Muscovies in the parking lot of a gas station,
Oh, wow.
drinking and playing in a puddle. I don't know what city it was, so don't don't quote me, to go rescue them, but she was wanting to bring them home, but she was having a hard time
gosh.
catching them.
Yeah, I would say so because Muscovies can fly pretty good, and they're a big duck.
They are a heavy duck. And
Very
you know,
heavy duck.
Muscovy is a meat duck.
It is considered a meat duck.
We've always said that we would like to try the Muscovy meat. However, we can't ever get out of our head that we hand raised that Muscovy
That's right.
for eating. So we haven't done that. But
That's right.
it's supposedly as good as the best steak you've ever eaten.
That's what they say. If any of you had Muscovy, then let us know in the comments below. But that's what they say. And what's really cool about the Muscovy is there's a lot of people that say they're not ducks. They don't quack. They're very silent.
You've probably seen it in our videos.
Yeah. They have the big knots like a turkey. They got features like a goose and act like a lot like a goose.
Their body shape is a whole lot like a duck, a huge duck. They're about the size of a goose with shorter body.
Just short legs.
Yes.
Low
Short
to the
legs.
ground.
Extremely long
They're-
claws.
Yes, they're long ducks in general. As you can see, this is a little baby Muscovy I have here. And he wants his friend. But I'm pretty sure it's a male because I have another one, and it's female because it's way smaller. But
That's
male-
not a definite indication
That's
that
not
that's what
definite.
you're thinking.
That's what you're
But
thinking.
what I'm thinking is they have these little tiny knots that are starting to come in at this age.
Uh-huh.
And the males have one that overlaps their bill and it sticks out really far, but the females don't have that. And this one's starting to get it. You can't really see it, but
Starting to get a few knots.
Starting to get a few
Yeah,
knots.
I'm
they're-
kind of fond of Muscovies. And MaryCarl asked me the other night, she said, Mama, do you remember when we got our first Muscovies?
we got them from the fair, the county fair, and it was a mama with
9 babies.
8 or 9 babies.
Oh,
and
yes. Mama Muscovy. You know what we called her?
I think MaryCarl was about 5.
I think so, too.
And when we went to the fair that day and she saw those Muscovies, she asked me 1,000 times, can we get the Muscovies? Can we get the
it
Muscovies?
was an auction, wasn't it?
Yes, it was an auction.
That was the year that I was a judge for the 4-H chicken show.
And at the end
That
of
was it.
At the end of the show, they auctioned off the animals so they could
Yep.
raise money. And this Mama Muscovy, we called her Mama Muscovy, and her babies. I remember that Mama was in one cage
Mhm.
and the babies were in another.
No, it was like, you know those little tiny fences they have, like this tall? Well, they were all in that.
Except the mama?
No, the mama was with them.
Okay.
And the babies and the mama were all catching flies.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, the Muscovies
And-
are great insects.
They are.
I
I
don't
mean,
know if you've ever seen the male Muscovies in our videos, but those were 2 of the babies. You hold him?
Mhm.
He's trying to wiggle away.
he's okay.
But the 2 Muscovies we have left from that mama are Butter, which is my male white Muscovy, and Flycatcher. He's like a blue and white kind of.
He's white, but he's got some
Mostly
black
white.
on him.
It's blue.
Well, he
Gray.
he is offspring from Mama Muscovy, which
Yeah.
was our first Muscovy.
That's right.
And so we sat at
He's
that
huge.
auction, and the ducks were like the last item that was auctioned. And MaryCarl, at 5 years old, just couldn't hardly keep her hands to herself. Mama, am I going to be able to get them? Am I going to be able to get
And
them?
this was a 4-H. This wasn't like your auction, not like a...
It wasn't
auction,
like a
you know.
an antique furniture auction.
No,
or
but we
anything.
tell people don't buy any things at auction, or be very careful.
Oh, yeah.
This wasn't like a barn sale auction.
No.
This was the 4-H club. So
Yeah.
these things were being taken care of, and
And
they were-
besides that, we knew who they came from.
yeah, we knew they came from.
And so here's the start of the auction. And we did not know how much a Muscovy was worth. And it didn't matter to us how
No.
much the Muscovy was worth. This child was going home with the mama. And she needed all the babies because she couldn't let that mama go home without her babies. And so not only did we buy the mama, we bought 9 babies.
Oh,
Do you
man.
remember that?
I do. And recently we got more Muscovies. And
Well,
We-
they repopulated so fast.
They
Those
do.
9 ended up being like 30.
And they're great mamas.
They're
and
great
then
mamas.
we narrowed it down to 2.
Yes, we ended up with 2, and they were both males.
And we had like one female left, and the female was actually a male.
The female was a male.
Was
The
that
one that
butter?
MaryCarl
Yeah.
decided to
Was it
keep
butter?
was a male. So we had no way to reproduce our
And
Muscovies.
then Mama Scovey got old and eventually passed away.
Mhm.
But the butter that was a female was actually a male. And so we were stuck with 2 male Muscovies. And they were best friends, but they were trying to have babies with the female domestic
Pekings and-
ducks
Oh, yeah.
and everything else.
And that could happen. However, their offspring would be sterile.
That's right.
Yes, and so then my mama found a post on social media sites, and it was some Muscovies that someone was going to order. And so the lady ordered,
She had to order 15,
Yeah.
but she didn't want but like 5.
That's right.
Yeah, she wanted like 3 of them, I think. And we got there, and I had went to the doctor that day.
In Birmingham.
Yes, and we got there, and she said the people were supposed to show up today, but they didn't show up.
And I can't
So we
keep
were
these
supposed
ducks.
to get 2 Muscovies, 2 female Muscovies. Oh, we ended up with 8.
We ended up with 8 because she said, I cannot keep them. I'm in the city. I can't have that many. The other people didn't show up, and I've got to give them to you. And I was like, oh, no.
Oh,
Oh,
no.
no. What am I going to tell Jason? What? Oh, no. Because I had agreed to buy the 2, but here she is saying
To
that
get 8.
she can't keep them, and I got to take them with me, and I have to take 8.
And she gave you the 8.
She gave me 6
Or
of
the
them.
6 of them. You bought the 2.
And so MaryCarl, we have a good friend, Julie and Dave, who have other ducks, and she has never had Muscovies.
And she wanted them,
She
to-
wanted Muscovies to keep flies down
Yeah.
in her barn.
and so she has 2 female Muscovies, and we have 8.
Well,
Well, 6
have-
females
yes.
and 2 boys.
6 females,
And
2
that's-
boys, and they're
and some,
repopulating.
and some chicks. Or some
yes,
ducklings.
and that makes
a lot. A lot.
Yeah.
We have 10
Muscovies
now.
will they'll disappear and you'll not see them. You'll
You'll
not
think
see
that they're
'em,
gone forever.
and then she'll come out 3 weeks later with a
about
line
50 babies.
of ducks.
And
It'll-
that's the same that goes for mallards.
Mallards are the same way.
Are much worse than Muscovies.
I don't know.
Mallards,
It's pretty bad.
It's more mallards than Muscovies, so
That's because
we have more mallards
well, that's
because they have
because-
reproduced more.
Well, that's
And-
because Muscovies are a lot easier to catch, and
They're a heavier breed.
the mallards don't. You can't catch those mallards. It'd be impossible.
but the mallards, I got 1 mallard from a feed store one time. One single female mallard, and I had a male. And that population grew very greatly.
Within that year, we maybe had 25.
Yes, the
mallards.
mama
Yeah.
actually had 17 babies.
How many mallards do we have now?
Oh my gracious!
Around 50,
And
probably more.
it's not like they. It's kind of like geese in a pond.
It's like
they're
they're-
like everywhere.
I mean,
But they fly in and they fly out and they. So,
they live here. They don't leave our property.
No, but
It's like you look over here, there's a mallard. You
But
look
it-
up, there's mallards flying.
but
You
it's not
look
like
down.
the chickens.
Yeah, but for the longest time, we never had any of our waterfowl go to the creek unless
right.
we physically picked them up
Yeah.
and took them down there, and they were babies and they were playing. And it was like all
Hang
of a
on,
sudden,
we're fixing to run out of camera time. All right, now we're back.
it was like all of a sudden, we took a group of ducks down there, and they figured out, hey, there's water down here.
Finally.
And every time we take a full-grown duck down there, they just scramble right up the bank and go back to the flock. But the mallards,
They
the
pretty much live in the
pair
creek.
of mallards, the first mallards I ever got, they were the ones that kind of taught the other ducks to come down there. And then eventually the geese ventured down there, and
And I'm so thankful.
Yeah.
the geese, the water's about that deep.
And it's constantly flowing, so it's not
Yes.
like it's any stagnant water. It's a,
But they make wonderful out of it. They love it.
They love
They do love it.
they think to themselves, I can just hear them thinking, why hadn't we gone here before?
I mean, it's only been like 2 years
that they've started
that they
going
started
down
going down there. Prior to that, they never went
there.
down
They
there.
never went down there. I
Never,
don't care.
ever.
And it was like if we took them down there, they were like, we don't want to be down here. It's
Yeah.
scary. It's
Yeah.
scary. But now it's like, yeah.
Yeah.
So all those years of filling up nasty pools, we made a pond one time out of a liner, and we thought we'd put this nice filter and pump in there, and it would keep the pond clean where we'd have a nice place for our waterfowl to swim. That didn't happen. Nope.
You can forget it. They're going to get it nasty. That's the thing about ducks is they're going to get it nasty.
And not just nasty to where it looks ugly, nasty to where it stinks.
It stinks because they have to mix their food and water together, and that's what creates that smell more than anything. Because wet chicken feed is going to smell sour,
and
it's just
stinks.
rough. It's really, and the longer it sits there, the worse it gets. And no matter, you can clean it 3 times a day,
it's still
going to be bad. And that's just the way ducks are. I mean, you can go clean their, when you have ducks and got them in the pen and you put a water in there, I mean, you could go in there 5 times a day and clean it out every time, and within minutes, it's going to be nasty again.
But look how cute they are,
They're
Jason.
cute.
And that's what makes all the difference in the world to MaryCarl.
They are cute.
You want
Now, we have thought about maybe possibly putting runners in the garden this year.
We
Yes.
have.
And
I
letting
was
them.
thinking that when my little ducklings that I have now, when they get bigger, that we could take them in the garden.
That's
and
right.
Let them just big enough to not get out of the fence.
And not permanently, just a little bit here and there, because they're great at bug control, and snails and slugs are their favorites. So if you do have that issue, you can look into ducks. Now, I had some people tell me that they put Indian runners in their ducks in the comments when we've mentioned it before.
Indian runners in their garden, not in their ducks.
I mean, in their garden, and they said that they did pick at their tomatoes and stuff and did mess some of them up. So we don't know that. We've heard that before. I've heard them using them in vineyards a lot.
I bet somebody's willing to give it a shot, though. She's going to run this duck back because it's starting to get a little bit hard for her to handle.
And
MaryCarl, we enjoyed you
We
and
did
your
enjoy
little
it.
Francisco. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Francisco.
All right. Thank you very much.
Francisco.
And the other one's name's Margie. Don't ask.
Don't ask.
No, I have no idea. So, speaking of the garden, what are we going to...
Speaking of the garden,
We're going to experiment with the ducks, I think, and see how the pest control
we
goes.
are going to do that. And what we're thinking about doing is a, I guess it's a market garden. I say market garden.
Selling a few items
Selling
that we
a few
have
items.
left over.
There's something we've never done before. We thought about doing a CSA, but we thought, you know what? We haven't done anything like this before. And a CSA, you get the money up front.
I don't want the responsibility of if something doesn't produce the way we wanted it to, or in our case, if a big rain were to come and just wash it out.
Yeah.
We've got these people's money and we've promised it to them, and
That's
I
right.
don't like to go back on my word. So this is going to be a trial.
And if you don't know what a CSA is, that stands for Community Serviced Agriculture, and it's basically a co-op more than anything. And these people buy shares into your farm, and in return, they get vegetables or whatever. We're going to do eggs and vegetables and whatnot, and they get that every week.
Speaking of eggs,
Yes.
while we're there, a lot of people want to know, what do we do with all of our eggs?
All our eggs.
Well, first of all, even though we're a family of 3, we eat a lot of eggs.
We do.
We try to look for dishes that, like this week I made a spinach quiche, and try to look for things that, recipes that involve a lot of eggs. I've made a creme brulee in the Instapot.
Which is my favorite dessert.
It is. And I have ordered a torch because the recipe called for torching the top of it. Of course, that's the way you get the crust on it, but I just use a broiler. So I'll maybe share that recipe.
Yes.
for the creme brulee and the
think
Instapot.
so.
That sounds crazy, but hey, it was wonderful.
It was absolutely delicious.
And the other thing that we do with eggs is MaryCarl gathers the eggs and we sell them locally. We sell our eggs for $4 a dozen, which is kind of the going rate in our area. In your area, it may be lower or higher, depending on kind of where you are. And that's what we do with our eggs. And we would, if we do a market type garden, we would like to include eggs as an option. For anybody that was going to pick up, vegetables, they'd have an option to add a couple of dozen eggs or 1 dozen egg or whatever they needed. So, what are we planning on planting?
Well, getting back to CSA, what we decided to do is not the CSA because we thought it was way too much pressure. We're not, veterans at this.
I just don't want to commit to something and it not be there.
And then we didn't want to have, way too many people wanting to get in it, blah, 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 blah. So our friends, Travis at Hoss Tools, him and his wife, they used to, then they stopped it this year because they big campers now. They got a camping channel. If y'all are interested in that, I'll put a link to his YouTube channel, Pop-Up Life, in the description of this video. Y'all go check out Travis and his camping adventures.
They're a family of 4 that
Yes.
goes pop-up camping just about every weekend and look like they have loads of fun.
They do like they have loads of fun. But what they were doing, and this was an excellent idea, is they would take whatever was left over from them and put it in bags and sell bags of vegetables. Mm-hmm. And it would just depend. And it was first come, first serve. So they may have 20 bags this week. Next week they may have 10 bags. And they would make a post.
They might have 2.
And they would make a post on their page and they sold like hotcakes. And so that is what we're going to try this year, we think. And don't quote us on that because something may not work out. And that's why we don't want to commit to a CSA because we're not committing to anything. We're just saying this is what we would like to do. And getting to the garden, I will say this. I have learned in years past, because I was the world's worst, and we all do this, is we grow something because it looks cool. It's got a cool name. But over the years, I've learned is to pull that back and just focus on stuff that we like and we can grow.
And that tastes good.
It tastes good. That's why if we like it, especially with MaryCarl here, if we like it, we'll grow it.
We're not going to grow something because it has polka dots on it. It's not going to impress anybody if it doesn't taste good. And
That's
we
right.
can't grow it well. So
there's a lot of things that a lot of people grow that we don't grow typically, and that's usually why is that
it doesn't do well in our area, or either our garden just doesn't grow that particular crop,
or we just don't like it.
We just don't like it.
Now get into what we are growing this year, and I'll in a prime example, talking about our garden is, of course, everybody loves tomatoes, and we're going to grow tomatoes because that is probably our favorite.
Yes.
There's like 3 tomatoes we grow. 3 types. And, of course, our favorite for the last few years has been the Bella Rosa. Now, last year we tried one called the Tachi, which was a paste tomato, and I've never been able to grow paste tomatoes, and that's the truth. For years I've tried. This Tachi from Hoss was unbelievable. We had paste-style tomatoes, which is like a Roma tomato, which is used for canning more than anything. We had more canning tomatoes than we could shake a stick at. We had so many that Mrs. Cog Hill told me if I brought another batch of canning tomatoes in this house,
we're not growing them this year, folks.
You're going to strangle me. So we're not growing. We're not growing those tomatoes.
I love to put up certain things. Figs, I love to put up. Strawberry preserves, I love to put up. Tomatoes, I hate to put up. So until I have to have tomatoes again, we're not going to grow them. Yeah, no. Canning tomatoes, we're not going to grow them.
You can can any tomato, which we have.
But you know what another one of my favorites is?
What's that?
It's that little sun gold tomato.
The sun gold tomato. That is your favorite. And let's see if I can find it over here. If you've never grown the sun gold, try it. There's other varieties out there too that are similar.
It's just a little tiny cherry type tomato, but it's a different little color. It's kind of a orangey yellowish.
That's right.
And y'all, the flavor is amazing. MaryCarl she's 11. She
Yep.
doesn't like tomatoes yet, but she loves this dish that I make with the little cherry tomatoes. And I think she's
Sun-go
starting
pasta.
to turn her
Yeah.
corner with these tomatoes. I mean, who couldn't?
This tomato. I heard Jess over at Roots and Refuge, and I remember a story she told, and she said that this Sun Gold changed her life, that she was eating grocery store tomatoes. I know I'm probably butchering her story, but somebody at a farmer's market had Sun Gold tomatoes, and she tasted one, and she was like, I can't believe tomatoes taste like this. They're very sweet, got a little citrusy taste to it. Only downside is they will tend to crack if you leave them on there too long.
Oh, who's going to leave them on there too long?
Well, they produce a lot of tomatoes.
They do produce a lot of tomatoes. But this is my honest opinion. If you have room for one pot on your porch,
Oh, yeah.
and you don't have room to plant anything in the ground, get you a big old pot and put you some Sun Golds, and you're going to be happy.
You're going to be happy. If I had to pick one right now, besides, we usually like this, we got a cherry, and then your slicer, your Eaton tomato, your BLT tomato. Our favorite is the Bella Rosa. Now, last year, like I said, we usually grow about 3 types of tomatoes. Last year, there was a new one that came out called the Red Snapper. This is a brand new tomato that came out last year. This thing was phenomenal. Now, the plant was way bigger. It did not produce as many tomatoes as the Bella Rosa did, but these tomatoes were huge. This was like a beefsteak style tomato. And Travis and Greg at Hoss Tools, Greg, they do a blind taste test every year with tomatoes, and this was his favorite tomato last year in the blind taste test. So I think one of his other ones, and this was a new one. Like I said, I always like to try to grow one new one every year. My new one this year is the Chef's Choice Orange. This one was also high on Greg's list.
It's not a paste tomato, is it?
No, it's not a paste tomato.
Okay. Shoo.
And I actually thought that the people, if we did get the garden going, that they may like a yellow tomato just for the looks of it. So that was going to be my tomatoes this year. And then Travis told me, he said, Jason, he said, I got a new one that is hands down the best tasting tomato there is. And it is a new tomato, and it is in between a cherry and a slicer.
That's looking like paste to me.
It's not a paste. This is an Eaton tomato.
Oh.
It is called Mountain Vineyard. Now, these tomatoes are hard to get. Last time I checked, Hoss had these. Now, this is a $5 or $6 pack of tomatoes. It's only 10 seeds in here. As compared, these have got 50 to 100. So this is a very, very special tomato. As a matter of fact, on the show a few weeks ago, Greg said that they brought a little box in, and it was just tomatoes, and it was $20,000.
Oh, wow.
So that is a special tomato, if you guys can get it. Now, before we're talking about that, if you do want any of these seeds, Hoss has seeds, because there's a lot of seed companies out there that are struggling with everything that's going on in
Trying
the
to
world.
keep up.
But Hoss does have seeds. If you do want to order from Hoss, we have a link in below. I'll post it in the comments too. If you do use our link, we do get a small commission, and it really helps our channel out a lot. You guys just don't know how thankful we are for the ones that have been using the link. And there's a new promo code this year.
I know what it is.
What is it?
Cog Squad 21. All one word.
All one word. And that'll get you a free pack of our favorite zucchini, which is the Golden Delight. And your order's got to be $25 or more, and you can only use it one time. But if you want these delicious zucchini, then use that promo code
for free. COGSQUAD 21.
This is our favorite zucchini. We love summer squash. We love it. We love zucchini. We eat it like summer squash. You make
Plus,
zucchini
it's
bread.
easy to put up.
It's so easy to put up.
I like things that are easy to put up.
What else did we do with this? Morning Glory muffins.
Oh, yes.
So we usually grow this, and that's usually it for zucchini, but I decided that I would go with a green one this year for the market garden, because you have to kind of watch out on that kind of thing, is that if people don't know what it is, a lot of times they won't buy it. So I didn't want them to think, well, that's a yellow zucchini, that's the same as a yellow squash, but they're kind of different. So I want to give people a green zucchini.
But most of the time with recipes that call for a squash, you can substitute for a zucchini and vice versa. So it's not like you can't use them interchangeably. It's just the definition of the name of the vegetable.
And then we're going to grow our true favorite, the Go Prize, which is just your regular yellow crookneck squash, and this one's awesome. I mean, it's just so prolific. And then MaryCarl wanted these right here. It's like a white patty pan squash. It's called Moonbeam, and hey, if the girl wants it,
she loves squash.
She loves squash, and she'll go out there and help me plant all these too. So, and that's one thing too. I have a lot of people ask us, God, MaryCarl loves getting in the garden so much. My kid just won't. If you want to get your kids in the garden, let them be a part of it.
Well, let them look at the seeds when you're placing your order, and let them see something that they might like to grow.
Yes.
I don't care if it doesn't come up and it doesn't produce.
That's
just
right.
let them be involved and let them think, this is mine and this is how I contributed, and I'm going to take care of this. If it doesn't make it, then it's a learning experience. If it does make it, then that's a learning experience. So the best thing to me is to just get them involved in thinking that they are helping.
And a lot of times you'll find out that if they plant it and help you care for it, they'll eat it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can remember when MaryCarl was smaller, I would think to myself, she's not going to eat this. But if I involved her in cooking whatever it was in some way, just, would you add a tablespoon of this for me? Then she would like it a little bit better.
That's right.
Just because she was being involved.
So, yeah, just let them be a part of it. Let them pick stuff out, even if it's the ugliest flower, and you're like, oh, my gosh, this thing's so ugly.
Just chill out.
Just let them grow it. It's not going to matter.
If nothing else, get them a little pot.
Yes.
And let it grow in that pot, so that way, they can see their own individual prize coming about.
Even when MaryCarl was really little, she loved to buy these ugly garden art stuff, and it may be... goofy chasing a bee. I mean, it was just, some of it was just, you're like, oh my God.
Jason and I might be looking at each other in the background like this, but deep down we were thinking it's going to make the girl happy.
Just let her be part of that gardening experience. And that's the way to get your kids involved.
That's right.
Gardening.
Get them a little watering can.
Yep.
Just a little small one that's big enough for them to handle, and they'll enjoy just
their own little shovel.
They make it a mud hole, it'll be all right. It'll dry up in a few days.
That's right. The other squash is our small wonder spaghetti squash. We grew this for the first time last year, and we loved it.
I ended up looking for recipes, and I had never cooked this before, but I really enjoyed cooking with it.
Yes, and what makes it great is it's not very big, and you can grow this on a trellis, and if you're pressed for space, that makes a big difference when you can grow stuff on a trellis. And this did well on a trellis.
And MaryCarl liked it. She thought it was cool when I shredded it and made it like spaghetti noodles. And
we did the boats out of it. Yeah, that was really good.
It was impressive.
New thing this year I wanted to try is Tomatillos.
I'm not too sure about this, but we'll see.
This is a staple in Mexican cuisine, and we love cooking Mexican food.
We do, but I don't see many recipes that call for the tomatillo, so I'm going to have to get on a search. And
it really tastes like a green tomato. I mean, to me, that's what it kind of tastes like. It's got that little bit.
I don't know if I've ever eaten one,
but we're going to give it a shot this year. Something we used to grow that we hadn't grown in a while, and it's mainly because of space, and I try to let stuff rest.
We're letting the okra rest.
Yeah, I was going to say this year we're not planting any okra, which is crazy because we love okra, but the last 2 years my okra has just been on a decline.
And another thing about our okra is, okay, so our garden is not huge by any means, and to me, in order to plant okra, you need a lot of it that's coming on at the same time.
That's right.
And we always have just a few pieces that are ripe at
Yeah.
a time. And by the time the next little batch comes available, that first batch is gone. So
Yeah, that was the thing about okra. You seem like you got to plant a lot of it. That jambalaya that Hoss got, it puts on 2 or 3 pods at one time, whereas normal okra only puts on 1. But you still, you don't want to go out there and pick,
I would
15
add it to,
okra.
I would find myself
Yeah.
adding it to peas
That's right.
and things like that. We never had enough to make a mess of it to fry or something.
Right.
Or bake. I like baked okra.
And another thing I'm letting rest this year, pole beans. That was the other thing I'm letting rest too, is cause number one, I wanted to let them rest because they're starting to go on a little decline. And then number 2 was that we got a lot going on. And I noticed last year
Took a lot of time.
it took a lot of time because you know how pole beans are. And I noticed that it's certain times that we were like, oh gosh, if I got to snap one more bean,
If it becomes a chore, then you don't need
you don't
to do
enjoy it. So no pole beans this year, but we're bringing back corn, and we love sweet corn. I've always grown Silver Queen. This year we're doing peaches and cream.
I bet
corn.
Peaches is going to like this.
She's gonna be happy. This is supposed to be a really great corn, easy to grow, super delicious, and I'm so excited that we're doing corn again this year. Corn is easy.
It is easy. It's and it produces a lot. I mean, who can eat, more than a couple of ears of corn at
That's
a sitting?
right.
So it doesn't take much to make for a family.
And it's easy for us because we'll just blanch it and freeze it.
Yeah. Or, if we don't eat it all.
That's
before.
right. And we'll do the whole cob.
Yeah.
We
that's right.
don't worry about getting it off the cob or anything like that. And that's why what makes it so easy to us. Cucumbers, this is the one I'm telling you guys, if you like cucumbers and you really like cucumbers, this Max Pack is crazy. I'm telling you.
Well, our child
It's
is a cucumber lover. However, me, on the other hand, I'm a pickle lover, but I'm not a cucumber lover. So I'm thinking we're going to buy that big crock like Travis has.
I think so.
And put some pickles up this
That's
year.
what I think we're going to do pickles like that this year. This Max Pack is like those Mallard ducks we're talking about times 50. I mean, these things, listen, I'm telling you can plant a 10-foot row of this and you'll have more cucumbers and pickles than you can shake a stick at. I promise you. These things are ferocious.
Max Pack.
Max Packs. If you love pickles and cucumbers, you will not go wrong with this at all.
Are those good to just slice up and eat too?
Yes. I mean, they're probably known as a pickling cucumber, but man, you can slice up and eat it. I mean, you know what I mean?
If anytime we go anywhere and we have a salad and it has cucumbers in it, MaryCarl steals my cucumbers, which
She
I'm okay
does.
with because I don't care for them. But isn't that just ironic how
It is.
I don't care for
You
the
don't care for 'em.
cucumbers and she steals my cucumbers, and it's always been that way.
Last year I grew the lemon cucumber, which we've grown in the past.
It didn't do very well.
Well, it produces, it does and it doesn't. I mean, it attracts a ton of pollinators and a ton of native bees, and it produces 1 million flowers, but the flower to fruit ratio on the lemon cucumber is not great.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, we're going to do strictly Max Pack this year and get rid of everything, any other type of cucumber.
This next one is a request that I had personally, and it's because that I had had experience with a few recipes from a restaurant with eggplant parmesan, and I like to cook that, and I think my whole family will enjoy it, and
I think
other
so, too.
recipes as well. But we're going to try to grow some eggplant this year.
It's been years since I've grown eggplant. And
I think we must have been at our old house when you last
It's
grew.
been a while, and I always had problem with flea beetles with eggplant, so I think I can handle it this year. Other ones we got a purple bell pepper, and we got banana peppers. If you live in the South, banana peppers are a staple here in the South. We eat them with peas,
I like a banana
cornbread, salads. We pickle them. We make hot sauce. We do everything.
And they produce
with
a
this.
lot.
A whole lot.
So we probably will have all of these things, a few of them left over for our little
Probably so.
bags that we do.
Yeah, we'll have plenty of left over. A bunch of herbs this year. Just your typical herbs, nothing special.
You
And-
know what?
What's that?
You know what? I'm kind of looking forward to getting the new green stalk planter.
Yes. As a matter of fact, it's right there.
We have a new green stalk planter that we plan to plant our herbs in this year.
And what happened was this green stalk, I guess, heard people talking because we've been using our green stalk for it.
Goodness. Our green stalk is what, 4 or 5 years old?
Yeah. And we've been using it for herbs and growing vegetables in. But this one is specific for herbs and flowers.
I can't imagine it being much better than the one we've been using, but the way it's designed, it will be.
It's got more tiers, but it's shorter, so the tiers are not as deep.
And they're fatter, aren't they?
It's
Bigger?
fatter and not as deep because the herb root system is not very intense.
I think
So-
it worked wonderful because there was a time when we first started kind of gardening that I wanted herbs to be readily available.
Yeah.
And so I came up with this little idea to take a pallet and take some plumbing
yeah.
strap and strap some terracotta pots on it,
Yep.
which worked well for a
did work
while.
well.
But it kind of started to lose its luster, and
Yes.
then the pot started
Well, you
sagging
can only
a little bit.
Yeah, you can only plant so many herbs in a terracotta
That's right.
pot.
I mean,
too.
we only had like 6 pots
Yeah.
on that pallet, and that green stalk just, I mean, it took the place of
It did.
our pallet, and
It's
we
amazing.
had herbs at our back door.
It was the
I don't
green
care
stalk.
how much space you have. You can have a green stalk, and you can have herbs fresh
We
at your back door.
love the green stalk planter.
We do, and we're not just saying that either.
Yes,
it's
we love the green stalk
I
planter.
think it's a good value for what it is. I mean, like I said, we've had ours for 4+ years, and you wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
You would think that plastic would break down and it
No,
would start
we love
losing
it.
color. It looks good.
Self-watering. We love the green stalk planter. And we do have a promo code that will save you money
Do
on
we?
the green stalk
Okay.
planter.
Well, I don't know what that one is, but
It's I think it's
no, don't do that. Just put it down
okay,
below.
I'll put it down below
because you
with
will,
the link
You'll
to the
mess
green
somebody
stalk.
up.
If anybody's interested in those.
But I mean, even if you're elderly and you're not able to
Yeah.
get around very well, I think you could benefit from that because you could water it maybe once a week when your family came
Yes.
over to visit or help you out.
That's right.
And then you would have things available that were fresh.
You can grow anything in it. And we've grown lettuce in ours. We've grown herbs in ours. We've grown flowers in ours.
If you wanted to do flowers, herbs, just
Whatever.
something that looks pretty and it's your choice.
I've seen people grow tomatoes in it. You just, the sky's the limit with the green stalk planter. You could grow peppers in it easy.
But we,
Herbs is what we like to use ours for.
yeah,
Herbs
that's what
and
I was going to say. That was our initial
Yes.
use for the green stalk,
Was
and
herbs.
we continue that to this day.
Yep.
However, it's planted up real pretty right now with some pansies.
It is.
We'll have to show that on the next video,
We will
maybe.
have to show that next video. And speaking of pansies and flowers, we let MaryCarl, because last year she got her own flower garden, and so this year she went crazy. I'm not going to go through all these flowers.
Your timer's fixing to cut off.
Okay. We're going to regroup. Hang on. I'm not going to go through all her flowers, but it's a bunch of sunflowers. I know her favorite is bachelor buttons. Sunflowers,
You know
and
what she told me
zinnias.
this week about bachelor buttons?
What's that?
That they're edible.
I didn't know that, but
I'm going to have to look it up
Have to
before I
look it
eat
up.
one,
Yeah.
but that's what she told me.
I believe it. I'm pretty sure she knows what she's talking about.
Well, believe me, she won't eat it until we read it, but, it's just amazing to me how there are flowers that are edible.
They're edible. Yep. The other one was, and we're from Alabama, so I think this is borage. I think somebody told me it's like porridge. You say borage because I think I was calling it barrage, so it's borage.
Oh,
So
goodness.
y'all, I'm glad y'all.
I hope y'all are laughing because I'm
Y'all
sure
gotta-
that's not how you say it.
Borage. That's what somebody told me. It's borage. It's not barrage. I was saying. I was kind of like garage.
Okay.
And it's not. It's like porridge.
Speaking of funnies, I had to pull over in a rural area the other day so MaryCarl could pick some, what are they? The yellow things? Dandelions?
I'm sure it's
Dandelions for her ducks. She pulled the petals off, rinsed them off real good, put them in the water so they could dabble
That girl's something else. Yeah.
for dandelions because they love them. And she had them
My
in her
gracious.
hands the whole way home. She was just loving it.
other thing is this other box. I'm not going to get up and get it right here. That is potatoes. So we're growing potatoes this year. Last year we got potatoes, but it was so wet we weren't able to grow them.
Oh, geez.
But this year our garden's bigger and we got areas now. We're going to grow potatoes this year.
I hope so. I had a friend of mine tell me that February in Alabama is supposed to be a lot warmer than usual.
I believe it. I mean, what was...
But they said
The last 2
wind
days.
chill in the morning is going to be in the 20s.
But what was it? It was 75, 78 degrees
79.
yesterday. 79 yesterday?
79.
It was probably in the mid-70s
Folks,
today.
we're in January.
Yeah, it's
I
crazy.
mean, and yes, we did have some terrible tornadoes up a little bit. Well, it was a good bit north of us.
It was a good bit north of us.
In Alabama, and we appreciate everybody calling, sending emails and
Lots of
messages.
email messages.
Checking on us to make sure we were okay. We hate it so bad for those people, the loss of lives and loss of homes.
Yes.
It was just horrible, but that's what we get when we live in Alabama.
Yes.
You know, we have a 79 day and then we have a 20s morning, and that's what creates that bad weather.
Yeah, that's what, that front coming through. That's crazy. It was going to be over a 50-degree swing between today and tomorrow.
That's crazy. But, we're looking forward to gardening, and we want some. I can't say warmer temperatures because it was warm today.
Very warm today. Very warm. It felt good though.
It did feel good.
It felt really good. We usually don't have warm temperatures. We use either hot or it's cold.
Yeah, but then this afternoon it started cooling off, so you know that cold weather's coming in.
Yes.
And our dog Bear, our Great Pyrenees, we have the door on the greenhouse open. And he's been staying in our backyard. He's got a little leg problem, so we're trying to limit his activity. And last night I opened up the back door, and Bear was asleep in the greenhouse.
Silly boy.
I thought to myself, good gracious.
He's such a big teddy bear.
He is.
He is such a big teddy bear.
Well, we hope y'all enjoyed us going over what we plan to plant in our garden this year.
And I'll tell you, I'm probably more excited this year than I have because... this will be the first year. Well, I said we planted it was last year, but it wasn't great soil last year, and we really worked on the soil this year in the new area. So I'm hoping that it's going to be really good.
Well, the issue won't be with not having quality soil, that's for sure.
And it won't be space. We have a lot more space this year.
Yeah, but big and better things are coming, right?
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
We're getting closer to bigger things, and we just never can be happy enough in the garden.
That's right. And again, if you guys are interested in house seeds, the link down below, Cog Squad 21, will get you a free pack of zucchini seeds.
And also use the promo code for the green stalk planter that we can't remember what it is, but it'll be down.
Cog Hill, but I'll make sure of that.
I want him to make sure before y'all go in typing something and not get your discount, because
that's right.
That, you know,
I don't want nobody mad at me.
Everybody needs their discount.
That's right.
And I think you'll be entirely happy if you do make that purchase.
Yeah, absolutely.
There will be no regrets. I have no complaints, and I'm not just saying that either. I mean, there's nothing. It's nothing awesome. They could do better.
Both those companies are awesome, and I'm so glad that they do support us.
Yes. Therefore, we support them.
And you know what? We are picky about who supports us.
Yeah, we don't want to just go out and just
you would not believe the emails we get every day.
Yeah. So I mean, you have to know that we sincerely appreciate everything those companies do for us, as well as what they supply.
That's right. And we thank you guys so much.
Yeah, we're getting close to
100K.
a big number.
Yep, not on the podcast channel, but on our real channel. We were, as of right now, we're less than 2,000 subs away from the 100,000 mark.
And when Jason started this whole Cog Hill Farm, his goal was 100,000 subscribers.
That was it.
And MaryCarl and I were not in a lot to begin with because we just didn't know how to do it.
Heck, I didn't know how to do it either.
But I told him last night that I was extremely proud of him and how far he's come, because there was a lot of time that we weren't there. It didn't mean we weren't supporting him, but I didn't ever think it'd come to this.
Yeah, it's crazy.
100,000 people. Y'all keep sharing so we can keep growing.
That's right.
And getting the word out there. And
plus, too, we think, not only we help people, but we also, by advice and that kind of stuff. But I think we help them in making people laugh and smile.
Well, that's kind of my goal is to, if I can make somebody's day better
Yes.
by saying, run, Nugget, run, or
That's
acting
right.
silly or whatever, that's what we're here for.
That's what
we're
we're
here
here
to
for.
make y'all's lives better.
That's right.
Hope we do that.
Hope we do that. They all get an escape from this crazy world.
That's right. And that's going to get better.
That's going to get better.
We know it.
That's right. Well, all right, guys. I guess this will end this episode of the Cogcast podcast, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Y'all be good.